Hello, hello. How's everybody doing today? We took off last week. It was Thanksgiving in the States, which was enjoyable. It was nice to have a little bit of time off from work. Um, but we are gonna pick up kind of where we had started off from the week before that. Uh, we jumped back to doing a little bit of WebGL stuff, and we have a WebGL scene that is over the screen right now, and we switched from the events coming from the IRC chat, TMI.js, Comfy.js, those type of libraries, to a program called Streamer.bot. And this, assuming I didn't break it in my swap to it, in the stream we started getting the. What did we all get done in this stream? I think we got at all the events. We started getting all the events coming through and wired up, and we got stuck on something, but it was just a silly mistake with the an endpoint. I think it was. Now I can't remember. It's been 2 weeks, I guess. Either way, I ended up just finished off the last little bit. So we got it wired up. So the events are actually coming out of Streamer.bot now. So I do have to run this program as part of like the stream setup. But this is going to give us a lot more flexibility. And part of that flexibility is I'm looking at switching from streaming on Twitch, which we are doing today, to YouTube. And this supports both. So currently we're on Twitch. I'll be able to add YouTube into this and maybe tweak a little bit in my code, but it's all going to be hitting the same endpoint, and I can pipe all the same functions into the same queues. So I think will alleviate some of that pain. But in doing that, the chat, this thing right here, really you're gonna make me log in? Well, that's it's not very dramatic. Twitch, sign in. Come on. You can do it. You can send. There we go. Okay, yeah, I just stop. Go away. That. That is from a website called Show My Chat. Ben, who's stopped by a handful of times and is a very good person, made this, and they've had other contributors at this point. It works really well. I like it, but it doesn't support YouTube. Bummer. But that gave me the idea of what happens if we effectively throw this into our WebGL scene. Is this light really kind of not very bright? It's kind of a gloomy day outside, so I'm having to turn on my lights up. And even still, a lot of shadows and stuff. So we want to basically do this in our WebGL scene, and a little bit of rework, but also gives us some options where, like our rewards and such, these things, and they're actually they're gonna drop on 2 layers. I just noticed that it focused on my finger. There we go. I think I turned off face tracking accidentally when I was mucking around with my camera settings. Because this works. Maybe, I don't know, whatever. It's supposed to show up in there, the chairs, or whatever other GLTF type thing that we've created and enabled in through the chat. We can actually have that stuff interact with our chat, which would be kind of nifty. So we are going to likely end up using this library, which we've used already as part of setting up all our WebGL stuff, but I know it has. We use Text3D, which hopefully still works. Apparently I broke the overlay. Is the overlay not working? Oh, do I have to turn that on? It's on auto start. What if I turn that on and off again? Where did I put it? So we got, that's just the refresh. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's working and hooked up to the events. And so if we fire off an event here quick. There we go. I think that's another thing I need to remember. I actually need to open up Streamer.bot before I open up OBS. Which is fine. We can make that work. So we're getting the events in here, and we had to use this Text3D. Let's try that command again. That should now show up here. Yeah, there we go. So that's specifically this abstraction, but I think there's also an HTML. There's SVG. I don't think this text in Text3D is. Yeah, this is like specifically 3D text. It's not actually like HTML elements. Shaders, modifiers. I was pretty sure it was in here. Maybe it is actually in the library above. Use animation. What's marching cues? That's fun. That's kind of fun. Maybe it is in React 3 Fiber. I'm pretty certain there's text that we can pull in. Canvas properties. I'm not seeing it. Loading models, animations. Ah. Ah. Okay. So what this is doing allows you to tie HTML content to any object of your scene. It'll be projected to the object's whereabouts automatically. So what we'll end up having to do, we can dump HTML in here, but we need to use this HTML object to act as sort of the container. If we look at this example, we'll give that a second to start up. Cycle raycast. Huh. 50. Anyways, distracted. I'm trying to get this done in under an hour, so can't get distracted here. Okay, so this stuff here, the like literal web page on the computer, is can I make this bigger? Which one is it? Open a new window? Yeah, that'll work. There we go. Thing needs to load. But we've got a geometry mesh, which is a bunch of groups, model. So I'm guessing that this is like a GLTF thing. Here we go. So they got a Mac, and in that Mac there is this mesh, which is the screen. So this part ends up actually being HTML. So we need like a containing mesh in which we put our HTML. But all we really need is like a box, I guess. I mean, it could be like effectively 0 thickness. Katie, you aren't gonna do that again, are you? If you need attention, come on up. Say hi. Come on. Being stubborn. I think we end up spinning up a new page for this, of which we can probably grab the alerts. And in here, the alerts, this does the 3D. We are just filtering for the words 3D to start with it. So we can use this for just all chat messages as well. So let's grab this and we'll do a new page. I guess we'll do this, alerts, chat. We'll paste. We want all chat. And we've got our text layer here. So we need a mesh. Use alert, that's probably fine. And text layer was coming from that other import. So we'll take that off for now. So we just need a mesh. I think what I'm gonna do actually is use one of the primitives out of Drei because they are very convenient. They should have some sort of box. Image, billboard. I feel like this changed from when we last looked at it. Did they have an update here? 946. Maybe it was just a docs type of update, but I felt like there was more stuff in here. Sampler, cubes, shaders, modifiers. I could have sworn we had just like a general cube. Because we did a physics rigid body per plane. Yeah. I don't actually want to use a plane. But got caught by GitHub. I didn't scroll over. I didn't realize there was a scroll. So staging. Nothing really useful in here, but I think it probably makes sense to use one of these. Ring, tetrahedron, extrude. I think we go with just go with a box. Done with extrusion. That sounds perfect to me. So let's get this in here. We're just gonna use straight away mesh props. What's mesh props? We'll just take them out. I have no idea. I mean, that's probably fine right there. So we should get, oh, we need to put it in the scene. We've got chat as a new component. So do chat canvas. We are lazy loading these. Chat index.jsx. And we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it as a new route right now. So we've got the root is everything as it stands. So what we're doing is we're drawing two canvases and have two separate things. I think that it probably makes sense to keep the alerts different. We might end up wanting to combine those though as this grows. But for the moment, just to specifically focus on a thing, I think I will want to continue adding new routes for each one of these things so we can, assuming we can get the canvas stuff to play nicely, it's nice to have a thing with its own route to just focus on a separate like abstraction. And this will end up being chat canvas. So now in our, okay, come on. Come on, get out of there. Now in our browser, we can go to /chat, and that should be a valid route. Come here. All right, rounded box is not defined, which makes sense because we pasted it in there and I didn't import it. And we don't, it looks like we don't have Drei imported yet. So let's go ahead and do rounded box from Drei. Rounded box is not defined. You're showing a box though. Did it? Yeah, I gotta get that face tracking back on again because that's annoying. It's so this camera is a Sony A6400, and the face tracking on it is really nice. And the focus and snapping on it is real nice. Like it's fast. But I turn the face tracking off somehow. It's just generally focusing. I had it set to only output 1080p, and I'm looking at doing some 4K recording, at least for the like introduction type videos or the chatting head type things. So I swapped it to 4K. I got a new capture card, which is all like, all my cords are all not nice anymore. But it works, and I got it set to 4K now, but in that process, I turned off face tracking somehow. Whoops. Anyways, so we got rounded box. We got that. I'm not gonna use that material because it's not looking great here. So what we're gonna do is just switch to this. I suspect we can probably keep the colors and such pretty basic. I'm not sure why the hot reloading is like not working. These args are going to give the size. Radius is the edges, I'm guessing, and smoothness is something of that sort. Now the question is args, XYZ. We kind of want this thing to grow with the content as well. And so this is sort of the, I think this is going to be part of the difficulty is we need to, like we don't have CSS available to us, or at least not as, not in the same way as if we just had a normal React component. So I think we're potentially going to run into difficulties like getting this thing to resize dynamically based on the content, which will be fun. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So let's do, I'm going to assume we probably want to do just widescreen-ish. So we'll call it 16 by 9 and the depth doesn't matter because we're not going to be playing around with the depth. And right now it's being absolutely positioned. So we've got our camera here and it's just got a position in space and it's not actually like interacting with our physics system. So once we have a mesh, now I think we can do the like this HTML. And I'm gonna go ahead and copy this. I think we do the mesh as just leave it there as well. I think they can be siblings of each other. I'm sure we'll find out shortly here. But we'll import this HTML. I don't know about this rotation stuff. It's supposed to attach to it automatically. And now this right here ends up being like HTML. I'm not sure why they're hiding. Or why they're ignoring this propagation for clicks, but this is text. So let's go ahead and just close this because we don't need that open anymore. So if we've got anything working, we should be able to start seeing text in here. And now we're in a canvas, so we can't use the dev tools like we would debugging normal HTML. It's not showing up there. I don't know if this is like a Z index type thing where it's, I gotta stop doing this because it's gonna like screw up my focus here without me noticing. I don't know if this is a Z index thing where we need to make sure to do them in the right order. It could also be that this text is very small. I don't know how it does the scaling. So those are things that we're gonna need to figure out. I'm not sure about those values. We're gonna take them out. Stop looking at my green screen. Come on, out of there. I'm gonna have to start locking her out of the room when we do this. We like the kitty time, right? We just don't like her licking the green screen. She agrees, despite despite continuing to do it. Okay, so rounded box. Let's look at the HTML. The HTML docs again. They don't have too much here, and we might be able to just look at some examples as well. Miscellaneous HTML. Okay, so we got a full screen, fills the screen, Z index, reference to target container. I don't know what group and div. And it might be that some of these things are invalid. So let's just try a p since that's in their example. I'm just gonna just straight up grab this. Where are you going away, kitty? There's a wrapper class as a div. Default is div, so we don't. That's fine. The class name of the wrapping element. Project content behind the canvas. I don't think we want to do that. We can try center. I think that's going to be the other part is like we've got transform set. If true applies matrix, I mean, I think that's fine. I think we want it to do transforms, but I'm just going to take everything out. We want it to just like apply to that box. There we go. Okay. It's very small, but it's there. See? This is using like our default CSS styles, which is really cool. So maybe some of the CSS is actually going to work. I'm gonna take off the center. I'm curious if that had anything to do with it. Maybe not. We are gonna up our radius. I think we could probably leave the color for right now. And then I suspect it's probably going to make sense to Ben and the other folks that have worked on Show My Chat. They are rather adept at CSS and HTML, semantic HTML. Can I do a shout out in here? Shout out. I think Ben is still streaming. They've got some antics, I think is what it is. So we'll see if this works. Shout out. Some antics. I don't know if that is the right one. Ben. Oh, I don't know. Ben was at Microsoft. I wonder if that's a more recent happening. Twitter. They don't have a link to Twitch. Here we go. Here we go. Dev. There we go. / shout out some antics dev. What? Please wait a minute and try. Of course. We're gonna do it the manual way. We'll try it in a second. There we go. They just added that, and it's a lovely feature, but it's not going to be useful for me because I'm hopefully moving off the platform pretty soon here. So, rounded corners. Did we get any more rounding in our corners? It doesn't seem... It doesn't seem like we did. So it was like 0.05 before. I expected the radius to go up for them to get more round, but perhaps not. That's odd. Whatever, it doesn't matter right now. Let's try to let's focus on the content and see if we can get content in there. So we want a rounded box for each message essentially. Channel alert is going to give us a stream of events, and what does that look like in here? We're doing a bunch of transition stuff. What we can do is in so in Streamer.bot, we've got actions, and we've got queues. So there is, and we can pipe them into separate ones, so we can see all the chat events. And you can re-queue them too, which is kind of nifty. So we can have separate queues for like, and this is what I was talking about, where we can do some interesting things, but as far as like interaction goes, but just like controlling it from a stream perspective, I think it's nice too. These platform chat messages go into the chat event action, and then which end up showing up in a queue. So if you, I've got the queue set to stream events, so you can have separate queues, and then when it fires off, it shows up in the history, so I can see the thing actually happening. And we can see the events themselves, so we can re-queue them. So this was a Twitch chat message from me, and like we can also re-queue the rewards. I expected things to fall out of the sky. Oh. I don't know why that didn't work. I would have expected it to work. I wonder if it comes through as like a different event or something like that. I mean, it has all the same values. We'll have to check on that, but that should work, because then the idea is that like we can like re-queue follow events or that type of thing, if we miss it. Interesting. But so this gives us control, and we can also do in our queues, we can set the we can set delays, pending actions. Is it in here? Edit. So we can pause it and we can run things concurrently. So we can run them one at a time, or we could just, as they come in, fire them off and show up in the queue. And I think there's also a way we can delay it as well. Queue group. I think that might be a part of the queue. So we can pause it and we can set it to be blocking. Blocking is you can only do one at a time, which is probably something we want for chat events. And then I thought there was a way that we could also delay it. Exclude from history, concurrent, random, always run. I might have actually just read that in the docs, and I might have an outdated version, but I thought there was a way we could also set another, so we can kick off timed actions, so like a cron type thing. Either way, I think this is going to give us a bunch of control in which we don't have to worry about as much of it in our interfaces itself. This is going to end up acting like our backend. So it's going to be like the server, and then the server is going to control the events. And then that means that we have to put less of that logic in our front end to worry about the timing of things or re-showing stuff or like keeping that state around. We can kind of just keep this more of a view layer where a thing happens, we show it. It makes this easier to reason about because this can already get kind of complex by itself just due to the fact that we're running through WebGL. So we got a class name wrapper. I mean, it must be pulling in some CSS already, and I don't think it actually matters as far as this class name goes. And it's possible I've got some HTML in there that just, or CSS in there that is just happening to match up. I don't know what. Oh, that is, so we can see the CSS. It must be positioning. Oh, that is cool. So what we have here, we have a canvas, and it is putting the CSS, or excuse me, it is putting the HTML as a layer above the canvas. So we've got two layers here, and that's what there's the prepend, project content behind the canvas. So that would be the opposite. So it would be behind. So if you have, like, you can actually see through the canvas right now. In the back here, I don't think it's white. Well, no, it can't be white because then we wouldn't be able to see the screen. Come on, focus again. Focus. We can put it behind it. I don't think that's going to be useful for us right now. We want it in front of it. But it means it is literally just plain HTML, it seems. We can do all the CSS stuff that we want to with it. And what it is doing, it is this wrapping div, this HTML React thing. It's doing positioning and translating and transforming it to do, oh man, every time I put my hand up, it's very focused on my hand. It's taking that element that we put there and rotating and doing the thing to make it look like it is actually on top of the element that we are appending it to, which is really a neat idea. Okay, so we've got include callback when the visibility changes, can be true or an object reference. So I don't think we care about any of these. Render as sprite, but only in transform mode. I don't know if we want to render it as a sprite in this case. Like, we probably just want to keep it as like HTML elements. Reference to the target container, z-index, distance factor. Okay. So I think what we can then do here is that, like, we can say, well, you know what? We're not even going to bother with, whoop, I don't want to delete it. I just want to undo. We're not even going to bother trying to like hard code styles directly to that element. Let's do a import okay, can I not really? Did this change? Can I not do? Here we go. Show mod icons. delete. There we go. That's another thing that we're gonna have to do. And I really appreciate that they thought of that when they were implementing it, because yeah, now we don't need to show it. We don't need that in the chat. Okay, import as what do we call this? Geometry classes from geometry. Well, I mean, I guess it's really messages. So we'll say message classes. Feeling very snaky today, I guess. Message classes from messages.module.css. And now we will create that, and we will set this as a class name equals classes. No. And I think this is going to end up being, we'll call it container. Message classes container. To bootstrap this file, I'm going to straight up just copy these. And if I remember what I called this, I think we said messages.module.css. We'll put it over here. Close you. Close you. So we did message classes from messages.module.css, and now we need a container. So if we do container, position is absolute. See, like I don't actually need any of this because I don't want to change the positioning. But we do want to change the size, which is it size? Font size? Font size. Whoop. Is that? I guess it's been a while since I changed the font size. Manually. Okay. So that's doing that. Positionally, it's definitely shifted within. So we've got a container. And we've got a camera. It might be that we need to turn on some of this stuff. So we've got a center, full screen. Transform feels like the right answer here. I would expect the position to shift to be like the top left of the element. So like it seems like it's not actually sticking to it. Ooh, it got bigger. It got bigger. So we've got some. We've got a container with our module classes. So that's all matching up correctly. And then we've got this transform stuff, it looks like. I don't really need it in the center. So it's, we're gonna take those off. I wonder if that's doing something with the actual like container itself. No. So there's a positioning function. That's also ignored in transform mode. The class name of the wrapping element. Let's take a look at this again and see what their CSS looks like. This feels right, but it seems like it's not actually attaching it to where I would expect it to. We could change the position of this. I think we're going to have to anyways. I'm guessing it's something like this. So we can say 15 for 15 and 3, sure. So this should move this element here. And we might actually want to turn on rotation and such, but I don't remember how these all work out now. I feel like the way that the args are set, it's hard for me to. I need to build up that context every time I come back to this. So I figure it out, or at least kind of have an idea of like what order these are in and what position my camera is and everything to get it all to line up. And then every time I step back from it and then come to it again, I forget that. So what's 0, 0, 0, 0? There we go. So it might have just been too far off our canvas, so we couldn't see it. So if I just do 1, let's do 2, 2, 2. And see, like, this doesn't seem to be attaching itself. So I think we're missing something there, which is where I would expect this transform to come into play here, but I also wonder if this mesh basic material is having something to do with it too. What if we put it in the mesh? This is sort of a flat out educational guess. I don't know if this is the right answer, but we will find out. Because it doesn't seem like it's actually attaching itself to the mesh. That looks better. So then if I adjust this position to be 0, 0, -5, what are we looking at? The text is still the same size though. So we have if true transform. So default is false. So if we put transform on there, ignored in transform mode. Okay. Upper left corner fills the screen. Allows you to tie an HTML content to any object of your scene. It will be projected to the object's whereabouts automatically. Ooh. If you want to animate or control its transition, then you can do that. Okay. Let's look at the examples. I feel like that is so high level that it's hard to see. Like, I feel like we're missing context. The examples that we're having aren't giving me enough context to understand what's actually happening here. So this is kind of a clear indication that I think we do want the transform. I gotta stop putting my hand here. That text is transforming. I think we can see no inputs found. Knobs. Thought there was a way to actually view the actions. Story. Here, story. So they do have it right next to it. So I think we were correct at first. It's got HTML props coming in, which is dependent on the, where does that come from? HTML transform. Oh, okay, so this is the transform mode. That's that. Okay, we need a B. Where's A and B? Oh, that must be a different one. Orthographic. Yep. So we want the transform mode. Yep. HTML transform scene. Okay. So we want transform mode. We're using HTML and it's wrapping the HTML scene. So this is setting some values and it seems to be transforming with it. There is a sprite turned on, which is interesting. But it's passing through the HTML props, which is these. Which is, that makes sense. That's fine. Use turnable. Interesting. And it is adjusting, or it is setting an initial position and it's rotating that whole group, I'm guessing. Because positionally they all stay, I did it again. Within a box, these things are stationary and the box is what's rotating. We can't see the box, but you can see that they're all rotating relative to each other, to where positionally they're not changing, but the whole box is rotating. So I think we were wrong in presuming that this was the correct behavior we wanted. I think this is the best way to do it based on this example. And it seems that we do also want to set transform and potentially sprite. Although we don't have sprite set on the other ones. So it's kind of hard to know, based on that example, if sprite is the right thing to turn on. We're going to try it though, because we do have transform on. So sprite would be the only other thing that we could turn on. That seems better. It does seem like it is, let's say -3. We'll put this as 0. So this I think is distance. So it's coming in and out of the scene if we change that position. And I think maybe the sprite is the right answer here. Let's make that bigger. So we've got this transform. I wonder if we need to like tie it to that piece or something. I mean, I don't think that matters too much. We're adjusting the font size. So this is the other thing. We have zoomed out in our canvas. I wonder if it's actually just like, okay, oh, really? Yeah. Oop. Yeah, so we were a little bit zoomed out, which is why it was doing that. And so if we cut this down to like, if we do like, I don't know, half of that, like 8 and 4.5. Sure. It's hard to know like position or like relatively too. Okay, so now we can see a little bit of the depth there. And it does seem like it's still attached. And we might actually need to work on this canvas a little bit. That's probably part of it too. Yeah, so you can see it moving. Let's take off a little bit of the depth because we don't want to make it seem too deep. So now if we do something like 3.5, positionally still within the thing, I want it to be able to, yeah. So like if we would turn on 10, it's low enough in the scene that we should see some depth to this, which I don't mind. That is curious. So when we had 1, we could see some depth. So now if we do this to 3.5, it should move down a little bit. Okay, and it seems to be attaching pretty well. And it seems to be doing the transform correctly. It does seem like it is positioning it in the, let's say top, what margin top? 0 pixels? Well, let's just say margin. Let's get rid of the margin completely. I wonder if it's the margin. And like this is just so zoomed in that margin is making it look like it's centered by coincidence. Padding 0? So there's still something that's sort of holding it over there. And it's probably something to do with these transforms. Let's turn off the transform. I think we're going to have to call it here in a minute. But if we turn off this transform, what is that now going to give us? So the sprite is doing some conversion. Position absolute transform none. So it's setting the transform mode, HTML scene, HTML, and HTML props. Color is hot pink, except it's using the HTML props. So we're just setting it to pale green. Distance factor. What is distance factor? Children will be scaled by this factor and also distance to a perspective camera. It still feels like we want to have transform. Render as a sprite, but only in transform mode. Okay, so to have sprite on, we need transform on to have sprite on. I think I don't want it as a sprite, but we do want transform. And maybe it's something to do with this distance factor that we should keep in mind. So transform. Do I have to actually do this? I don't think so, but distance factor equals, let's try 20. We'll see what that does. So I'd expect it to be zoomed out a little bit. Yeah, it seems like it's not attaching it. I think I've got some other transforms or something happening in here that are giving it troubles. because we end up having this piece, and we've got, I don't know where that's coming from. And this seems to be mostly correct. Come back to see Comic Sans. Default loading. The and I actually need to run a meeting here. The default font for whatever this is, Vite or what have you. We're doing all WebGL here, and this is the first time we're bringing HTML on. And apparently the HTML is a whole separate layer just on top of the canvas, and they do the calculation to take that HTML and like line it up with the WebGL elements. Is how I'm understanding it. But it means that it takes whatever default HTML styles you have, which this happens to be the loading text. I can't seem to get it to actually like fit to the object as well as I was expecting, or as easy. I was expecting to have to do less with it to get it to fit nicely. It feels like it's got some. I mean, I've got all the margin and padding turned off. So like, I mean, I guess we've got some margin and padding in here. Margin block, start, font weight bold. So I mean, we could be getting. I think this is putting it in the middle because there's like a translate on here, and we're getting the matrix 3D. So we're gonna have to do some like calculation and sizing and stuff, but all right, but that's gonna be it for today. We'll play around with that a little bit more. Maybe I'll see if I'm gonna actually be able to stream next week. I'm also on vacation next week, which will be nice. But I might end up taking Friday off again. We'll see. We'll kind of get this chat thing working. And then sometime in December, your unfollow isn't going to matter as much anymore, Ryan, because we'll be in the process of moving to YouTube streaming. And that wasn't meant in a mean way. I realized after the fact that it could be, but no, we're moving to YouTube streaming. I think it'll make my editing process easier and less of a bother, and it will let me focus more on keeping the stream and the live content as sort of a behind the scenes thing, and instead making a little bit more like focused 10-15 minute videos on the stuff that we learn on the stream. So next time, thanks for coming by. Bye.